Superintendent Elder, who is not going to be joining us. Sorry, we just started the live stream. Not going to be able to join us today, so I'm going to go ahead and step in and facilitate. We also have a couple other folks representing. Amanda Colburn's here representing Enrico until he's done with his current meeting, the director's meeting for the county. And Margarita Archibek is on here on behalf of Commissioner Quesada. Thank you for joining us, ladies. And if I can ask the ABC team to watch the attendees list and make sure to promote any board members over, and then we'll also let you know when we need to promote over some speakers. So now I'm going to move your faces over a little bit so I can see the screen. Deanna, you want to go to the next slide? Oh, sorry. We wanted to recognize Commissioner Lancena for sitting on the ABC board during the last year and really appreciate her for her commitment and work that she did with especially the EREP events that we had this summer that really allowed ABC to partner with a number of organizations, including the Expo New Mexico and Roadrunner Food Pantry Distribution that was serving about 400 families at each distribution to help enroll families in the rental assistance program, as well as identify other potential needs. Councilor Sena was fantastic, came out, was not only speaking as a community leader and decision maker, but translating and working with families car to car that needed assistance. And and she's a huge and tireless advocate on behalf of ensuring that families have stable housing. So we just wanted to recognize her contribution with the ABC board and just thank her. Next slide, Tim. So our first presentation is going to be from I'm going to move Miss Amanda DeBell over. Our Communications and Strategic Action Committee, we are going to have them give us an update on where they're at and some things that they would like the board to consider and discuss. I'm going to turn it over to Daniel Manzano to introduce folks or get it started.
Yeah, good morning. This morning we are going to be talking. We're excited to present. We have our chairwoman, Peggy Mueller-Aragon, who's on the APS board. We also have the associate superintendent, Amanda DeBell. And I'm going to introduce them really to do a lot of the talking, but we're excited to kind of present we've kind of made our lap and did all the things that we were set out to do through the strategic plan. And we're just going to report on that today. So I'll pass this off to the chairwoman.
Thank you, Daniel. For those of you who don't know me, I am Peggy Mueller-Aragon. I'm an APS board member representing much of the West Side and District 2. And as Daniel said, I'm chair of the Communications and Marketing Strategic Work Group. So I'd first want to acknowledge all the contributions from the working committee members. First of all, my co-chair was Sam Garcia, who was representing the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. He has since retired, and I'm hoping he's really enjoying this new chapter in his life called retirement, but we're thankful for his contribution. He is one of the people who really wanted a communication plan, and so even though he's retired, I know he's very happy that we did complete it. And we also have Zone 3 Superintendent Amanda DeBell, who's going to be presenting with me this morning. We also had Dr. Angelo Gonzalez, who contributed a lot to this working product. He has since moved on to become the Managing Director of NMPED, and we congratulate him on that. We also had Alicia Manzano from the mayor's office, who was most definitely our communication expert. And she has since moved on and become the chief of staff for the House Majority Leader. So congratulations to her as well. We also have Danette Townsend and Daniel Manzano, who are the ABC staff representatives. So to Sam, Alicia, and Angelo, they were such an integral part of this committee. We will miss them, but we wish them well. Right now, we're a very small committee, but like Daniel says, we're a mighty one. So what I'm going to do is have a big ask. So all of you ABC Community School Board members who haven't become part of a working committee, I'm just asking you, we could really use your expertise. So I would appreciate if you consider joining our communication committee. If you would like to reach out to me, if you're interested, we could really use a few more people. We'd like you on our committee. So first of all, I'm going to just review the strategic plan and what our objectives were. So I know most of you have looked over our strategic plan that we adopted last year. It's a long-term, it gives us a long-term direction that includes basically 3 elements. It's a 5-year vision. And it's also, we updated the mission statement, and we have a set of goals that are going to be used to drive the work of the partnership over the next 5 years. So those goals are the impetus to the work that we are been doing in this committee. So what our committee was created for was to craft a plan, a communication plan, and a set of goals that were going to be used over the next 5 years by the partnership. So we created this plan in a timeline of a year, and we delivered in that time frame. So we're very proud of all the work that the committee members did to get this plan. It was a lot of work, and thank you to Daniel, because he's done such amazing work. So we are going to be presenting the strategies and objectives that we set out to accomplish under the strategic goal of messaging. As you know, there's lots of goals to get through, and so it's going to take us, those 5 years to get through them. But we concentrated on the goal of messaging. So what that goal said was that we were to achieve a higher community profile and a deeper understanding of community schools by actively promoting a consistent and unified message. And the 2 strategies that we focused on were to create and present this communication and marketing plan for adoption from the board, and to start communication engagement, both which we will be presenting on today as our deliverables. And so now I'm going to pass on to Amanda so she can review our communication plan right now. She's going to get started.
Good morning. Thank you, Board Member Muller-Aragon. So in reviewing the communication plan, we hope that everybody got a copy of it, to review, and if not, you can do so after this, because we don't want to necessarily go through the entire plan today, rather highlight some of the key components that we feel like are going to really lead to the conversation that we hope to have by the end of the presentation today. And then hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions at that point as well. So first, and thanks for running the PowerPoint in the background. So we'll start with the vision, mission, and goals. So through the plan, we wanted to make sure that we, are highlighting and continuing the communication plan, focus on sharing the overall goals for the ABC Community School Partnership. We want to make sure that we are really staying true to the fact that these are the grounding principles that really are defining the work. And we want to make sure that our charge is being identified so that we see that our charge is to really be supporting the vision, mission, and goals of the strategic plan. And we then are really thinking about how those strategic priorities can serve as the guide for the marketing and communications effort that we know that we have to do, and that has been our work. So there was a marketing audit that was conducted pre me having the opportunity to work with the board here. The first one was done by Strategies 360 in 2015. And then through the work with Dr. Gonzalez being on the committee here, there was yet another one. And so while there are many data points, we just wanted to be able to summarize a couple of the areas. One thing that is important to note is that between 2015 and 2019, the information was similar, very, very similar. And so we know that we have a lot of opportunity to improve the coordinated stories around community schools. And also of note, I think, is that there was not enough capacity for any group to focus on this one area. Now with the committee and the support from ABC and Daniel, we can carry this work out, and we are better positioned to accomplish the goal around marketing and communication. Next, we were looking at, and it's what is on the screen now, is we want to be able to lay out our goals through the communication plan. So we want to achieve a higher community profile and deeper understanding of community schools by actively promoting a unified and consistent message. And we will do so by focusing on two distinct categories. One is the community school partnership. So telling the story of why and how the partnership works, to align the resources around community schools at a systems level through the partner organizations, and secondly, at the site level. So lift the stories of success up from the individual schools and their communities. Board member Muller-Aragon will be sharing some of the next pieces of work that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. So the next section that we are going to be, we're going to be identifying who our key partners and of course who our audience is. So who are the people that really influence the ABC Community School Partnership? And you can see a list here on the screen. So they really are the ones that influence our mission, the most. For the short term, we've identified really elected officials as policymakers who are really determining the future of our community schools. And we've seen obviously a lot of success in this area. In the past, we didn't really have a budget for community schools. And now we see that, how important our policymakers, our public officials have seen that community schools and the great effect they have on our children and our communities. And so we are included now in the budget with recurring funding. So that's a very positive. Next on the priority list is just keeping our systems level partners organized around key talking points and key messages, and just creating what those key messages are. So we're all talking about the same, thing and how community schools work. So our key messages, the next section is the key messaging. Many people in the partnership have their own, personal version of what the messages are that they use in their day-to-day conversations when they're, talking about their work in the partnership. They might refer to these de facto key messages when, meeting prospective partners that they may be working with, or they're welcoming visitors to their school, or they're training team members, or you're just talking at different, social events. But what we have found the problem is that a lot of these personal or informal key messages that many of the staff or the board and partners are using are sometimes, inaccurate and inconsistent. So because they bring their own personal experiences into the way, of course, we all do that in the way that we talk about the partnership. But it's not always easy for them to discuss what the bigger picture behind what ABC Community Schools is doing, what community schools do, and why they do it. So we really determined that we're really good at saying what we do, but oftentimes we miss the opportunity to get to why first. So we have captured some key messages and right now we're possibly looking to work with a communications firm that will be able to really help us identify and describe the specific talking points. So we're going to talk a little bit more. I think Danette will talk about that a little bit more into the presentation. And the rest of the communication plan is just the tactical sessions. So they're just going to give details on how to carry the plan out strategically. And you can see the current website, the new website, the social media, emails, etc., are all vehicles that we're going to be using to carry out the plan. So we know that certain events, we know when they're going to happen, like we know when Coordinator Appreciation Week is. So that's going to allow us to plan to send out these messages. We also want to create metrics also and goals, so we know and the public will know that we're hitting our mark. So some examples of ways that we are going to be telling our stories and how we're putting them out, how many people are engaging in our website, in social media, keeping track of how many news stories are going to get published or aired. So one of the things that I was thinking about is we have, currently about 50 community schools. If there was a way to highlight like one community school per week, so the focus was on a school, that would be something that I think would be a good thing for each of our schools. So they would be the focus. We'd have a focus group of community schools every single week. And now Amanda's going to present some of the highlights of the plan.
Yep, thank you. So just thinking about the communication plan, one was to create some alignment and shared messaging like we just heard, but then our second piece is around communication engagement. So in order to help ABC staff as well as the partnership really execute and amend the plan as needed, we are going to we are recommending a 6-month contract with a company that is here in Albuquerque called Media Desk. They are a communication firm who works with different clients and causes to shift attitudes, move people to action, and make a positive difference within communities. Ultimately, Media Desk would help ABC start to effectively tell our story and execute this communication and marketing plan, as well as provide some much needed communication expertise. The plan that we are recommending would be for 20 hours of work for a course of time over 6 months, at which time ABC staff can determine if we will be able to continue the systems and protocols that they help us to set up in-house, or if contracted help would need to be extended. And I think that you all should have the proposal in your board packet as well. And so as we continue on as a committee to review the progress of the communication plan, make any necessary adjustments, and be a group that filters communication going forward, that is our desire. And so I think now I will defer to Danette for any budget and contract specifics that might be necessary at this point, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. Before Danette jumps in, I just wanted to say one observation that we forgot to put in context when presenting this is our communication committee has been amazing. They've been working diligently. We meet every month to go through all the sections and make sure we've thought of a lot of things. One area that we've been able to focus on is really external communication. If you'll notice, this communication plan doesn't have internal communication built in at this time. We want to make sure that we continue to work on this plan and refine it and make it better. It's not a set. What we have today is not set in stone. we can constantly come back and tweak it as things happen, such as we saw with COVID. Things always are kind of happening within education that we need to kind of make tweaks on. So that it's more external, and we want to be able to include the internal communications going forward. And that goes with like trainings for community school coordinators, community schools in general, how to get information out to families in engagement. The other thing I wanted to note is our committee is really strong on engaging the partnership. So we have APS on board, City of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, United Way, UNM, and they're all ready to get messages out. We have a good system in place. What we don't necessarily have in our committee is actual communication experts who can craft this. And this is another reason why we're kind of making this proposal today. And in looking for asking different kind of PR and marketing companies who we wanted to work with, we really liked Media Desk. They were willing to work with us, and we were able to get the price really low. If anyone's ever done kind of getting quotes for PR marketing firms, they can kind of be pricey, but we were able to get this at a very reasonable rate due to the work that we've already done. We've already laid the groundwork. We already did the auditing. We already have a plan in place. We already have a strategic plan. So it positions us that we could just hit the ground running. And Danette can kind of speak a little bit to the budgeting piece that we have around this proposal.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, it's the board packet does have the actual quotes and everything in it. It's in the range of about $14,000. We do have money set aside. We have been setting aside money for this committee for this purpose since the committee started. Just making sure that we had something set and planned so that we had the money to move forward once the committee was ready to do so. So that is funding that the county has provided through the ABC infrastructure dollars for the purpose. So we'd pretty much like to open it up to the board for any thoughts, comments, questions, discussion. I don't think I have enough people here. We don't really need a vote. We just need a consensus. We want to make sure that we're addressing anything that you may see from your perspective and experience.
Amanda, did you just want to kind of close up a little bit though?
Well, I think, in closing, I think we brought this proposal, to you, but, I think having thoughts around it will be really important part of the conversation. And somebody was just going to say something or ask a question. I missed who it was.
Sasha?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's Sasha. Yeah, I was just going to say, I really like this. It was super thorough. I like the idea of like the two prongs. I'm definitely in support. I came in during COVID, and it was really challenging for me to just establish relationships. I would have loved to go out to the schools, and I couldn't. And so having some messaging around what exactly ABC Schools is and how it functions, like I did have some prior knowledge and experience, but I think this would have just been super helpful if it would have, been readily available. So I think another piece that's just really helpful is as new board members come in or we transition, offering them this piece so that they can, just review and have an idea of what they, how they can speak to what ABC Schools does, or having an actual training. So in some spaces as a board member, I've been able to get a little notebook or a 3-ring binder, and it has all the information in it that you need. So I love the idea. I think it's a great strategy. I would also support, I think $14,000 is really reasonable for hiring a marketing firm. And I know Media Desk is really fantastic in the work they do. So I'm definitely in support, and thank you all for working super hard. I think this is great.
Thank you, Sasha. Any other comments or questions or thoughts?
Thank you all. And we're going to continue meeting. We're probably going to continue meeting like every other month so that we can bring back status reports to you about how the communication, the Media Desk is doing. So you'll have, if other questions come up, we'll be here to answer them. Thank you all so much. Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Board Member Aragon. Excuse me. So we have a couple things from the Sustainable Funding Committee just to make folks aware of. One of the subcommittees of that group is systems level partnerships. And as I said, we have been having a little bit of a difficult time meeting because we meet Wednesday afternoons, which currently has been before lots of holidays or days off. So we haven't done a whole lot in the last couple months. But one of the things that we have been working on in partnership with the Downs and with Senator Stewart is an event, a holiday event for the schools that are surrounding the fairgrounds, the immediate neighborhoods of the fairgrounds, which are Van Buren, Wilson, La Mesa, and Emerson. They are hosting a giant holiday festival on the 19th. And this was included in your board packets. They would love to personally invite you all to attend if you are so inclined. And it's going to have, there's much more than that's on this flyer that they've put in place. The other incredibly cool thing is each year they're looking to expand this event and adopt each of their neighborhood schools, one school each year. And this year it's Wilson. Wilson will be receiving, every student in Wilson Middle School will be receiving a pair of athletic shoes. As well as they have a giant donation of basically like slightly worn returned shoes to Amazon, I guess. And so they're trying to sort that out and get them delivered. And once they do that, they're mostly women's shoes. So they're looking at how they might distribute those across the schools as well. But they do have the new shoes for the Wilson students. And then next year, they're looking to adopt a different school for similar purposes. Each student will get a family pack of 20 tickets. There are both free activities and then things that are like one ticket a piece, like for the food and different things, but they'll be giving every family in every school or every student in every school that attends a pack of tickets to be able to enjoy it. So we just wanted to highlight that and recognize the Downs and Senator Stewart and everyone for really thinking through the process. They went to APS originally, and Heather, because of the partnership, sent them our direction and said, hey, these are all community schools. You need to talk to the ABC partnership and they will help facilitate the process. And so it's been a really good experience. And I think it's going to be a great event for everyone. Next slide, Deanna. Oh, it looks like Heather's listening to us today. She's excited. It was all happening. But we do appreciate that the partnership, that we really work closely on a number of things. And another thing that APS brought us into is the 100% Community Initiative, which is it's 100% Bernalillo County, but as a geographic area and a county, it isn't necessarily a county initiative. And this initiative is really evolving out of the Anna H8 Institute. There's a number of counties in our state that have taken this on, and it is, in a nutshell, really looking at the 5 thriving and 5 surviving services that have been shown through research to really help families stabilize and move forward in their own self-determination of what success and really just how families want to be, right? Like which aligns very much with the self-determination goal of ABC and utilizing community schools as portals for families to enter into both surviving and then thriving. Right now, we're in the first month of the survey, and what we have done so far with the incredible support of Albuquerque Public Schools is sent out this flyer through the Peach Jar system to every family in APS. We have also, they've also sent it out to all of their staff. The county as well put together, Tiffany Chambly from the county put together a video that we're going to show you just real quick. That will go on the county websites and we'll go out to promote. We'll be able to embed it in ours as well. Thank you, Dina. I'm sorry, I forgot to put it on mute. You probably heard an echo. I apologize. But we also, of course, have a number of board members that are engaged in this initiative as well. Marjorie, Barbara, I'm not sure if anybody else that's in here has been attending, but they're involved in the conversation. It is also being led by Representative Dixon, just kind of the person who convened everyone for the book study and then has been moving it forward. Sasha has also sent it out through the city and connecting with city folks to really get it out there. Right now, the surveys have been mostly completed by households that have $70,000 a year or more income. So we're really trying to get those folks. We want a good representation. Ellen?
I just wanted to let you know I've been sharing it around APS for the employees just to see if they can push this out also. So trying to be helpful with that.
Thank you so much. We really feel, so one of the thriving services is community schools. And what happens after the survey gets done is we create action teams for the whole county in specialty areas. The behavioral health department is also a part of our leadership kind of group that's leading the work right now. And what we really hope to see from a community school perspective is that the information from the communities we can take and lift up to decision makers, funders, community leaders to really inform those folks and those funding streams, those decisions, those policymakers around what communities want and need and what they have access to. Because a number of our communities have access to healthcare, insurance-wise, but they can't get in to see a doctor. But we would like to see concrete information so that we can really make informed decisions around where we invest our resources in our community to best serve our community. And I personally really think this is one way to go. We're also working with the 51 traditional community schools and 5 charter schools to try to really engage their families to answer this survey as well. So we'll see how it goes. It worked really well for the census tract. So if anyone's interested, we'd like to encourage you to send it out to your staff members, your networks, because it's for everyone in Bernalillo County. They're only looking for 2,000 surveys. We'd really like to see a much higher response. Business owners, business leaders, whatever that is, because we really, really want to get as much diversity in the mix, but also we want to hear from those communities that we know tend to have less access to decision-making as well as less access to services. So any other questions or comments about that? Fabulous. We'll keep you all posted and in the loop. Yolanda, did you have something? I'm sorry, I saw you on mute.
No. I was just thinking to myself, I just pushed the wrong button. I'll make sure that I get it out to our, I think there's a way that we could probably push it out, especially to some of our clients and customers that come through on the workforce side. Because, you do have some questions in there about access to work, to job training and such. So we'd be really interested in that for sure, in terms of what's going to be the outcome of that in the conversation. Because one of the things that we're looking to do is we're looking to do some journey mapping for customers to see what is that experience. And these are for the individuals that are coming off of unemployment and coming into employment, but really those that really are kind of like those, the ones that don't have a lot of post-secondary credentials and, issues or concerns like that doesn't lead to like good quality jobs. So I'd be really interested in the outcomes of this. So I'll share this with our workforce boards too, and see if we can maybe even put up the poster inside the connection center so that as our customers are coming in, and maybe talk with our information officer and see if we could link it on our website so that we can have folks take it from there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Great. All right. We are going to move on to a community school implementation update. As you know, we have been talking for many moons now about the code book. We have now deployed it to all the schools. We had about an 80% completion rate, and we wanted to share with you some of the things that came out of what we're really looking at. It's really about fidelity. We're getting a lot of questions from the Public Education Department, which are really questions from the Legislative Finance Committee around how do we know as a coalition and as a network across our state that schools are actually implementing with fidelity. Fortunately for the ABC Community School Network, we have been looking and talking about this for quite some time. And so we are hoping that this foundation will really help us be able to report back for our community on how we are looking at that and how we know that the core pieces that we know from research are actually being implemented within our schools, or if they're not, what our plan is to move in that direction. Because it's huge, right? Where it's a very complex approach to delivering education, and we have lots of moving parts. So this assessment, as you have seen, it really helps us measure those moving parts, or at least take a good look at it. So we're really excited about this. We believe that every school should be able to define what their outcomes are, and that really what should be measured is how we are doing it, because that's what leads us to change. What is actually happening should be hyper local to that community, and they should be able to define that. And we feel like this is our way of advocating at much higher levels if we can get this right and really work to systematize it across our network. And I'm going to turn it over to, I believe, Ellen.
Yeah, thank you, Danette. This was an incredible piece of work that we've shared with you along the way. And I know we had a motion, I can't remember which month it was, but we adopted the code book formally, and we asked our partner organizations to do the same thing. The union reps formally adopted that as something that we internally want to make sure that we advance, promote, engage people in. And I think that it's a great way to do a self-assessment for every community school, to think about how complex all these moving parts are, so that it's really a community school strategy, not a community school event layered on. It's really integrated into the entire school culture and the way that they function. So this is, I think, a tremendous piece of work. And Deanna's going to let you know what it looks like. I don't know if we're going to keep calling it a fidelity inventory. I think we need to have a discussion in our committees about it. But regardless of what we call it, it is a great self-assessment. And the data that we're getting from that is not just helpful for our internal and external communication, but I think it's really helpful for every school to think about what their next step is. So I'll turn it over to Deanna.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Ellen. That's exactly right. And yes, fidelity inventory was something that we just threw out there that we're going to discuss further in our robust implementation and collaborative leadership committee this coming week. But we did want to take this opportunity to share it with the board because we're very excited. As Danette said, we've been working on this assessment tool. It's not perfect. It still needs tweaking, but our the initial feedback and results that we're getting are just really great. And as Ellen and Danette explained, the purpose of the tool is to help schools measure the depth of their community school implementation and then help them plan for their future growth and development. So this tool does not measure participation. It doesn't measure programs. It measures indicators aligned to research-based best practice and community school standards and critical practices within community schools. So as Danette mentioned, we did send it out to all of our schools about 2 months ago. We had an 83% completion rate. So a couple of those schools that didn't complete it, they don't have community school coordinators yet, or the coordinators just barely came on board. And so it was a little much to ask them to try to do this. It's a pretty long assessment, as the coordinators who are on the call can attest to. It takes time and it's quite involved, which we like, right? Because we're trying to measure that implementation piece. So each community school that participated in the assessment now has a little data sheet that looks like this. So when this PDF comes out to you, there's a link here at the top if you would like to see all of them. They're all there. So you can click on that link once you get this PDF presentation and see every single school's little report. So you can also take a look here on the sheet at the raw data that the schools, you can see their responses and then how we converted their responses into a score. So basically what we did, and many thanks to our fabulous intern Alex for her help with that, is we took their responses and gave them a numerical score from 1 to 4 in each of the indicators. There are nearly 100 indicators that these community schools assessed themselves on. And then the indicators are broken into pillars. So you can see the CL here is collaborative leadership, EELTO is expanded and enriched learning time and opportunities, ISS is integrated student supports, and then active family community engagement. So these numerical scores that you're seeing on this bar graph are out of 100, and the collaborative leadership pillar is worth 50% of the overall score, because we feel that collaborative leadership is what sets community schools apart, and it is the most important piece of community school implementation. So as I said, if you would like to see how we converted their responses into a score, the data is there, and each school will be able to click on that and see. We also have developed 4 stages of development for community schools in the ABC network, and it breaks down to an acronym that we call LEAD, L-E-A-D. So learning is the first stage, learning the strategy. So a school that scores from 1 to 2 is learning the strategy, and we have 18 new community schools this year. So we have a lot of schools that are in that learning stage. And these questions were difficult, honestly, for those schools because they are not implementing yet. So it's hard to measure implementation when you're not implementing and you're just planning. And we knew that. We did not adjust the tool for that yet. We may do that in the future, but we just told them to do the best that they could. And hopefully it gave them kind of a vision of, once you start implementing, where you need to start in that learning stage. The next stage is engaging. And that's where schools start to engage for change and really start to engage their partners, start really implementing the strategies. And so that would be anywhere from 2 to 3. And then A is achieving. So at this stage, schools would be achieving impact. So we're starting to really see some outcomes at that stage. We're starting to be able to measure those outcomes and measure that impact. And then the last stage that we measure is D, driving. And this is where schools are really driving transformation, which is ultimately the goal of the community school strategy, right? So in this particular case, this is Emerson Community Elementary School. They scored, and Emerson, as you know, has been a community school for a long time. They've been a community school for 8 years. They have had a lot of leadership shift in the last couple of years. They've gone through a few coordinators, a few principals, and every time a leadership change happens, we see some kind of resetting of the strategy and the implementation. But you can see here that Emerson still, with a brand new coordinator this year, still scored a 2.5, which is solidly in the engaging stage and well on their way to achieving impact, which I think is a really great place for a school like Emerson to be when they've gone through those leadership changes. Before I move into I was going to share with you some quotes from community school coordinators, but I just wanted to see if there were comments or questions on this before I move into that part.
Tiana, I just like to add a couple things. I really want to really underscore the movement of this through the back and forth, the fluidity of this work, and let people know that one of the things that we are really seeing this year with 18 brand new schools and Deanna really supporting a brand new school cohort in a planning time, we have never spent time in planning, really, to be honest. We sort of jump in with both feet. And what we're finding is that the planning schools that are really participating in the cohort are really laying a solid foundation for creating an implementation plan. And I think as we are trying to really do this well, we want to advocate for that type of opportunity, which is not traditional in education. And so even though there are things in here, we have some schools like, this doesn't apply to us. What we also want to let people know is every single indicator in here applies to every single community school. May not be something you can do. It may not be something you're choosing to do, but it still is a best practice and a solid indicator of what will lead to long-term systems transformation and student and family and community success. And so the tool is really reflective of that, but we may be low because we just don't choose. It's hyperlocal. So I just wanted to share that a little bit, a little of that with you all. Ellen?
I was wondering if you could share, if you had any insights into some of the qualitative information, like what did you hear, or what did our coordinators hear as the schools were grappling with how to do this? I think the data is great. I love seeing the numbers. Oh, there you go. Never mind, I should have known.
Sorry, I actually accidentally muted you while I meant to unmute myself. Sorry about that, Ellen.
It's all good.
Great question though. Yeah, that's exactly, we asked a few questions at the very end of the assessment. I asked who completed the assessment, and actually I'm going to go back for 1 second. We did put that, it's in tiny, tiny letters underneath here, but it does say who conducted the assessment. So in some cases it was the community school coordinator, in some cases it was the coordinator and the principal, in some cases it was the full-on community school council, and we saw quite a range. We also asked them how much time they spent on the assessment, and we saw anywhere from an hour, which is amazing to me because it's such a large tool that that's very fast, to somebody was like weeks and weeks and weeks. And really like dug into it. So we do have to account for some of that impact, right, in how the tool was used and utilized. So I pulled out a few quotes here from a variety of schools. One here says, this tool is going to help guide us more into becoming a better community school. Very helpful. We look forward to improve needed areas and to continue doing well on the areas I copied this. So anyway, where we're doing well. So that's great. This survey gave us a lot to think about and discuss. The tool serves as a great way to assess our community school. We answered these questions honestly and to the best of our ability, given our planning year circumstances, which I really appreciated, because we also emphasized to the coordinators, this is not a competition. No one is comparing schools. This is for you to give you a baseline. And honestly, at this stage of the year, because the tool is new to them, it was really more of a, let's get a baseline of where we are in our school right now. That will help us plan for the future, and more also of an educational tool, because we didn't want this to be a gotcha right at the end of the year when if you don't know what you're being assessed on, or how, what tools you're supposed to be using and how you're supposed to be implementing, that's not really a fair assessment. So we really wanted them to know, these are the things that we're looking at. These are the critical and best practices in community schools. This is our expectation as part of the ABC network for all of our schools. So let's figure out where you are. And then we as ABC will be able to adjust our coaching to really address those areas where we see, and it may be that we need to adjust our tool as well, if there are some pieces that are just very challenging. So this last quote is from another school. It says, I would like to be offered coaching in how to excel in the areas our school scored poorly and find a way for us to better track the progression of working mechanisms, which I think is really great feedback.
Barbara?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, and it may be something to work towards if some councils aren't ready to do this, but I think it's really beneficial for the whole council to do it, because a lot of the people that are on councils come in because they're committed to the school. They have a way of participating. They want to bring their skills. They want to learn how to support the school. It's for all of the right reasons. And that includes teachers who are involved, counselors. I think everyone who comes in, they know generally where they want to go and why they're there. But I think this tool really illuminates what is different about a community school. What makes it different from just any assortment of providers and supporters and cheerleaders and whoever else might be there, to really be a fundamental change in how schools function. And so the tool, I think, is really beneficial in sort of illuminating that, oh, are we doing that? I think it's helpful for the parents that are there to realize that we are asking for a different kind of engagement on the part of families than, sort of the traditional relationship that we have with families. So as much as possible, it seems like it's really beneficial for the whole council to work on it. And I certainly realize that some schools, their coordinator and principal may not quite feel ready yet to do that, but it definitely seems like the way to go.
Thank you for that insight, Board Member Peterson. And I also wanted to just let you know that anyone who had challenges or struggles or questions about the tool, I will be meeting with them and talking about that, because we did have some feedback that they either didn't understand it or felt that the questions were challenging or that there weren't good response options. So yeah, we are definitely open to feedback as well on our own tool, but we're just very excited that we finally have, some solid data that shows implementation. I can't think of a good synonym for fidelity at the top off the top of my head, but we're trying to really stick to how we implement the strategy well.
Thank you, everyone. We try to have a community school bright spot in each of our meetings so that we can take the systems level work and also show how that actually operates on the ground in a school with a school community, being led by community school coordinators and their network of supports that they create. And so we are going to turn it over to Ralph Pena, who's the community school coordinator, first year coordinator at Emerson Elementary School. Ralph?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, board. Well, I can't talk this morning. Good morning, board members, and good morning, ABC team. Emerson, I am the new coordinator this year. We've been a community school for several years. This year, we did a complete different kind of mind think, a little bit of change in the way we think things and the way we're doing things. But I do want to recognize board member Shane Peterson. Thank you so much for all you've done to Emerson. And in January, we're having a community partner breakfast, and we really want you there. But that being said, here is our different community school partners. These are all the partners that have attended community school meetings, have helped us. As you can see, it's a really nice, robust, we have a great, robust community school. I've tried to tie in some different aspects of it. As you can see, our faith-based organizations, we now have 7 different churches that are helping our community organizations. We're actually harnessing CYFD and CNM in different ways that normally people aren't harnessing them as community resources. I'm pretty proud of this board, and I do want to say that it will continue to grow. Thank you. All about the data. So this is one project that Emerson has been working on. A different shift from the way we're doing things as a community school is it's about the data. What I did was I looked at our I met with our principal, Ms. Gallegos, our IC team, and we wanted to see exactly what us as a community school council can tackle in regards to data. We used we based it on our 90-day plan. One of the big issues that we've had is literacy. And so after much discussion, we had a community school council meeting, an instructional council meeting, the principal, assistant principal, and myself. We decided it was a group decision to tackle literacy based on the 90-day plan. As you can see, we were previously at 12.5% for the 2021 school year. We dropped to 11.4%. Now, unfortunately, and I will blame it on COVID, we're down to 8%. So we had this goal of bringing it up to 10%. And with that being said, we thought, what can we do as the community school to bring that up? One of the initial things we did was we did this qualitative data survey. It was actually an in-person survey where we went classroom to classroom, and we asked students, are you reading with your parents in the evenings? All we're asking for is 20 minutes a day. And actually 84% of the students said they did not. Coincidentally, 84% of students who actually read with their parents 20 minutes a day have a graduation rate, I believe it's 89%. So just spending that 20 minutes reading with your child makes an entire difference in their education. So that being said, that's what Emerson wanted to take on. During one of the community school meetings we met, what I liked is it was more of a collective thinking, almost a think tank, where I brought up the data saying this is what we as a community school want to attack based on the 90-day plan. During the meeting, it was an open think tank. We came up with several ideas, and by consensus, we decided to create a reading program for our students. Currently, we have 4 community partner organizations that are coming into the school, pushing into the school, and they volunteer to support literacy. As you can see, we have 12 volunteers, 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day. That's 1,080 additional minutes of reading. And you know what? Just walking around the school, you see a difference. It's remarkable. I no other words to describe it. It's just really neat to see the difference, seeing kids read and actually being excited about reading and engaging. We still have a ways to go, but for where we're at now, it is exciting. Next slide, please. Actually, there you go.
I don't have a next slide, Ralph.
Okay, thanks. So anyway, this is a successful program. And what I guess I'm trying to say, this is just one way how our community school, along with staff, along with admin, along with families, along with students, were able to come up with a plan, come up with a program that's now being implemented and is showing a rate of success, which I will be able to measure. We'll be, within the next few board meetings, we will have more quantitative data to take back. I'm hoping to say that our scores improved 3%, and that's at least, and that's a minimum of what I'm hoping for. But like I said, this is just a success story for us. Did you have any questions? Okay, well, if there's no questions, once again, thank you guys for all you're doing, and Emerson really appreciates all you're doing for us, and anything Emerson can do for you, we'd like to do in return. Thank you, guys.
I just want to add a comment that Ralph, as we said, is brand new. He's a brand new coordinator this year, and that is a huge task to undertake. All of those partners, that community school council, and he has just done an amazing job and is very data minded and is following the process. And so we're excited to see how this progresses throughout the remainder of the school year and what the outcomes are for students at Emerson. So thank you so much for that, Ralph. Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you so much, Ralph. I think it's just really a fantastic example of how we use data to inform our work, but people to drive it. We really appreciate you. So one last thing that we have, and I'm not sure that he's actually on because he was out this week a little bit, but Jeff Anderson is leaving the ABC team this month. The 24th is his last day. He's moving on to focus solely in the arts community at North Forth Arts, which of course is his passion. So we're very excited for him and look forward to really figuring out ways to partner more strongly with the arts community, particularly around our qualitative or our qualitative data collection and looking at how we can use the arts to do that work and really inform our work moving forward. So we just wanted to celebrate him a bit.
He is here, Danette.
Oh, is he? Yay! Jeff, I want you to notice I made it active and confetti. So we're really excited. We're sad to see him go. He has been an amazing support to our team in so many areas between the equity work, the evaluation work, the arts connections, the partnership development, the big table that he and Daniel support. We're just really, we're blessed to have him on our team and to know him. We've known him for a long time, even before ABC, and we just are glad that we got to learn from him over the last couple of years. So we're going to go ahead and postpone our vote because I don't believe we have a quorum anyway. It's just the minutes from October. We'll just push that to January. If you could please put announcements in the chat, we'll make sure that those get distributed since we're a little over time. And our next meeting is January 13th, 2022. And we, as the ABC team, really appreciate you. We appreciate your commitment to this board. We appreciate your commitment even more so to developing community schools and looking at this as the way we should deliver education to best serve our students, families, and communities. And we wish you the happiest of holidays and hope that you get some rest and get to enjoy your friends and family.